It come up on yours?
No, it's unusual. Certainly not come up on Facebook anyway.
No, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, we're on Twitter. It's definitely on Twitter, but it's not on up on.
Yeah.
So we're live on. We're definitely live on Twitter.
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, we're on YouTube as well. Sounds strange.
Oh, you said YouTube there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely on there. It's definitely on YouTube. It's definitely on the other one. So, give me 2 secs. We might just have to go with the 2 tonight, and then we'll worry about Facebook on another day. Right, give me a second, and then we'll just.
You've just put your live on Twitter.
Yeah, I've seen that go up there. Yeah. Strange. Okay, we'll go with Twitter and YouTube tonight then. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs Non League show, and me and Keith are back here for the course of the next couple of hours. Apologies to people on Facebook for some unknown reason. I've seen other people having issues lately with Facebook and live streaming on there, so there seems to be an issue on Facebook, but we are live on Twitter and on YouTube, so please come and join us on there. So if you see the links, then join us on there. But tonight's a special show for us, and unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond my control last week, we couldn't do it last week, but we're back this week, so apologies to Jim. And of course, the legend, of course, that is with us in Mr. Jim Cooper. So welcome, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen you both, so it's good to see you. Hope you're both well.
So, Keith, I mean, good week. I mean, he's been not been. I take it you don't suffer from seasickness then, because I thought you got. I thought that was your new job. I thought you got P&O Ferries United or something.
Well, after seeing that Jamie Day's gone away from Bangladesh and and he's a good mate of mine, I thought I'd go around the country and see if there was anything else about. So when you go on the cruise ships, Dave, it's all Filipino. So I've been asking them have they got 11 fellas that fancy entering a football team. Because if they can play football like they do their service, we're going to have a World Cup winning side. Yeah, no, it was good. It's nice to spend a bit of time with my mum. Obviously, Jim's now going to obviously spend some time with his family, and it was my sister's idea. It was good that maybe just to spend a few memories, and it's something on my mum's bucket list. And obviously, I went with Vicky, my partner, last month, and I love a cruise anyway, and I haven't gone on one for a while since then. So, yeah, 2 in a month. It was quite nice. Looking for number 3 now.
They've got to restock the bar, though, haven't they? Because if your sister's gone with you, they've got to restock the bar first before they let you back on.
Well, you obviously, yeah, you spoke to my sister a few times, Dave. Oh, my God. Yeah, if I posted a video of her over a life jacket at 2 o'clock in the morning once, if she's watching, it would get a few hits, put it that way.
But I mean, later on as well, we're going to be joined by Liam Ames. He's going to come on and talk to us about his new Twitter feed and helping out on non-league. But we'll talk to Liam a bit later on. But I mean, Keith, we go back, and I think it was around over New Year and stuff, and me and you were sitting there, so I was looking at games, and you've been out to see games I had, and then we were looking at social media and saw a fantastic win for Grays over Averley, and then a few minutes later there was this bombshell hit across social media that I think rocked the complete social media. Did it rock you as much as it did me?
Yeah, massively, because obviously we spoke to Jim a little while ago, and things all, all the things were in place for the season to start. And also with that win, obviously, if you're going to go out, you want to go out maybe on the local derby and with a massive win in your team sitting right at the top of the league. But yeah, obviously when you get someone of the calibre of Jim and what he's done over the years, I've always got on well. Jim, I've always spoke highly of him, and the way he conducts himself as a manager as well, on and off the pitch is second to none. But I think it's a massive loss for football. I understand Jim's reasons as well, and I can always see a few hairs growing on his head. So it must be doing him some good already after 1 week. But
mate, that's the lighting. There's a lighting in here.
Oh, fair enough. Like I said, but there isn't too many people like Jim around. We put Jim in the same sort of calibre as Gary McCann and people like that. Obviously, even Craig, and longevity and just generally nice people. And as much as you talk about nice people involved in football, Jim knows that there ain't some managers that are that nice, and sometimes you'll lie and go, yeah, he's all right. But Jim is one of them genuine people that does things right, always has. And I think just by looking at the messages that he's received, maybe on social media, but personally, just shows the calibre of the person. So yeah, I was surprised, but it's in one way, as people tell you, you're never surprised in football. So Jim will tell us his reasons.
Yeah, so Jim, was it in the pipeline? Was it something that you were thinking of sort of in the off season or due to COVID and stuff like that? I mean, was it something that was in the forefront of your mind, or was it just something that just felt right at the time?
No, I mean, during the COVID period, me and Joinsy had a chat and said, we're looking forward to going back. And we were looking forward to going back because we'd built a really, really good squad of players over at Grays, and we were very excited about what we've developed so far. And it's purely because literally in weeks' time now, I'll be leaving the Met Police service. So I'll be retired from there. And then my wife said to me, should we book a winter holiday and a bit of skiing? And I went, do you know what? I've got football, I can't. And then she quietly pointed out that, it's been 30 years that she'd been supporting me to football with the police, and, now you're retired, surely, we should spend a bit more time without the constraints of the football side of it. And you know what, straight away, as soon as she said that, actually something just rung true. And I thought, you know what, I need to do that. So I spoke to the chairman just prior, actually, to us playing Basildon on the Saturday, and said that I've made my mind up and I'm going to pack ball football in as soon as I can. And he asked whether or not I'd take, obviously, the Saturday game and then the derby on Monday, which I was happy to do. But funny enough, after the Saturday game, we had a great win away at Basildon, 7-0. I was hoping to walk away then, especially when we had Avery on the Monday, because that's a tough one. But as it was, we had a good result against them, and it was actually really quite strange. And Keith, thanks for all you said prior to obviously the first question. But I consider myself to be quite a level-headed, stern, heart of stone type of guy, and don't really get emotionally involved. But I've got to be honest, I welled up. I was really quite, I was emotional. As soon as that final whistle went, I was really emotional. So, I knew I was going to miss it. But it's the right decision.
Well, I've just had a DM on Twitter come through from another manager who's looking to get back in at a minute, I'm assuming, in Mark Morsley. And he said, send my best to Jim, the top man and truly a great manager. I'm still working, so he said, I'll listen to his reply tomorrow.
Oh, mate, as Keith said, I got on with I'd say 99.9% of other managers, but he's definitely up there. He's been brilliant all the time that we've come against each other, and he's a good lad, Mark, as we know. I mean, you've had him on the show plenty of times as well. Top lad.
Well, we did. I suppose it's one thing to, before we sort of go in, and I'm interested in your story. I mean, Keith knows more about your sort of footballing career that maybe a little bit more than myself, and love to to hear from how you got into it in the first place, and up until the sort of day you decided to say enough's enough. But I mean, what I did do is I spoke to a few people, and this was one of the replies that I got back, and this one is quite a long reply actually. In all fairness, but I'll try and sort of cut out the first bit where he's saying good morning to me and stuff like this. And this comes from, of course, I'm just trying to flick through to make sure I get the name right. He's Steve, chairman of Grays, and has come through and said, I have put together a note below. If you wish to use any of it, you've discussions, feel free to do it. It says, from the first minute I met Jim, I knew he would be a good appointment for Grays Athletic. He immediately bought into the ethos of the football club and respected the limitations we have to work with within the challenges that present themselves on a day-to-day basis. He worked tirelessly at the outset to get to know everybody across all sections of the club in order to help build the togetherness that we have today. Jim played a key role in establishing the pathway that we have in place, and this gives the talented players that we have in our older age groups and the youth section an incentive to continue the development and aim to progress to the 23s and then to the first team. Jim worked well with the club during the extreme difficult months of the pandemic and helped us with the decisions we had to make and the protocols that needed to be put in place. Obviously, there was the disappointment of two null and void seasons, but Jim maintained a physiological, I can't even say it, and pragmatic outlook during the time, and reminded us all that although it doesn't seem like it at times, there is more to life than football. Jim's qualities as a manager and a person seemed to surface even more during difficult situations. When we were expelled from the FA Cup and all across the club were reeling from the perceived injustice of the decision, it was him that galvanised everyone and the management team and the players to the board, supporter groups and volunteers. He started the process by taking the coaching staff, captain and myself down the pub on the night of the decision, and I remember the following hangover to this day. Jim also knew the value of the attracting sponsors to the club and how we need much more than other sides in the peer group. He was able to attract support from us, from a number of people, and this was important for us in key times. For instance, when we had our storage unit broken into and all of our merchandise and training equipment stolen, it was Jim that sourced the company to donate funds for us to replace the items taken. So although Jim's tenure at Grays was disrupted on the football side, he leaves us in a better situation on and off the field. And whilst we have lost him as a manager, we retain him as a supporter and a friend. All at Grays wish him and Hannah all the very best for the future.
That's lovely. That's really nice. I mean, he's quite right. I honestly, it's amazing how much I'm in love with that club. I generally am a supporter now. I've booked to go away with him and I think there's another 14 supporters for the game in March against Stowmarket. We're staying over a Friday night, Saturday night. Hopefully I'll make the game Saturday. And I've been to see the last two games. It's a club that everyone puts their heart and soul into it and wants to succeed. And I've just bought into everything about that club. And Steve's right. I used to go to watch all age groups of a Sunday as well. The girls' football, got a fantastic female section down the club, which is brilliant for the community of Grays. And all they need now is just that, I don't know, the good news of getting some land and then getting their own ground. And then you watch that club then just soar because of the fantastic support off the pitch.
And saying that, I mean, before we move on to yourself, did I see again that it got turned down again? Just see something on social media as well during the week or at the end of the week before that the council would actually turn that all down again. I mean, it must be soul destroying.
It was for the club, but I don't think anyone on the committee even thought that it was ever going to get voted in. So where that leaves, bless him, Tommy South, I don't know. But my viewpoint is that I think the company will still buy the land I mean, don't take this for, as gospel, but I've got a feeling they actually might then demolish the football club and build their automotive company there, because that's not on Greenbelt land. So the land where all the local residents are complaining about the increase in the traffic, which is fine, and it hasn't been voted through, will only then be to the detriment of them, because they're going to probably build on it anyway. So there just won't be any football facilities there at all, which is a shame. But the club are striving to work in partnership with local schools in Grays. I think they've got some good support through the local education authority as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this time next year there might be some developments on some land.
I was waiting for that big famous saying, and hopefully this time next year I'll be a millionaire, but it didn't come. But with yourself though, Jim, I mean, where did it all start? Where did it start for yourself and football? I mean, was it something that you used to play yourself, or did it just sort of come into being manager? And I mean, talk us through how you first got involved in the whole sort of love affair of non-league football.
Well, there's a I think 16. I made my debut for Barking when I was 16. Was very lucky to play with players like Nicky Crown, Paul Watts. My brother, funny enough, was also playing. I didn't play regularly, but played occasionally. And then from there, I moved to Leytonstone and Ilford under Johnny Steele, him and George Dudley, and we won the league that year. Again, very lucky to be playing with some of the players that were in that side. Because I'll be honest, I mean, I was an average player. I was extremely fit, but I could talk. I mean, I was known for talking, even though 17, 18, I was one of the loudest on the pitch. It'd be no surprise from there. And then Dagenham paid some money for me. They bought me from Leytonstone and Ilford. Played at a good standard, but again, like I say, I was never one, putting up the trees and stand out performer. And funny enough, I mean, I used to go berserk as a manager. Like if I found out one of the players was out on the Friday night, I mean, I let myself down massively. I mean, Dagenham was my local club. I used to go over there as a kid and watch them, and I was out every Friday night up until 3, 4 in the morning, and then going to play what I thought was quite a good standard football, but obviously not, because they sacked me with a year left on my deal, so which was fair enough. And then I just went back to Barking and then joined the Met Police as a football side of it. That was a playing side of it. It was enjoyable, but I was never really one that had to play football. I was more interested actually in what was going on off the field, if I was honest. Not the coaching side of it, just the dynamics of management and leadership, really. Because I think I've told you before, I'm not a coach, I'm a manager, and I'll be the first one to admit that. I've got badges, but not to massive undertaking to go for B level, etc. But yeah, I was just really interested in the management side, and when I was given the opportunity to manage the reserves first down the Met Police, it was a good opportunity for me. And then Mark Reed, whether or not you remember Mark or not, he was at Romford. I went over there with him for literally a few months, and then the Met Police came calling, and spent 15 years as a boss down there. Magnificent times down there, really, really enjoyable, fantastic club. And I'd like to think that the Met Police, I built a good, strong foundation for what is now has been taken on to the next level, in my opinion, by Gavin McPherson and Johnny Nurse and Tarzi and everyone else that's down there. So I was proud of the work I'd done down the Met, and then the opportunity to take on Grays. And I think the last time we spoke, I spoke about Grays. It's a massive club. It's known in non-league football. Double FA Trophy winners, and for me to be given the opportunity to go and manage a club of that stature, it was something that I just couldn't turn down. And I've had disjointed because of obviously COVID, like everyone else, but I've had some fantastic times down there. And it also gave me the opportunity to manage João Carlos. I mean, I've been wanting to manage that kid since...
Yeah, I think we all have, Jim.
Yeah, and honestly, mate, he didn't let me down either.
No.
He was everything that I thought he was going to be. His attitude was brilliant, and it was a pleasure to have managed him. It afforded me some really, really good opportunities down at Grays. I loved it.
So,
Jim,
go on. No,
so Jim, over sort of the career you've had, what would you say sort of your highs and lows you've had, your highest points and your lowest points?
Well, the highest point, I suppose, for me was when down at the Met we won the Division 1 trophy. We won the league. We won that on the last day of the season. Same points as Bognor, but we won a 1 goal better goal advantage. And it was really strange because we looked at our last 8 games and we looked at Bognor's last 8 games. And we thought, you know what, we're going to have to win all of our last 8 games to win the league if we're going to do it. I mean, you're still talking a lot of points up available, but we were confident with the side we had. But then we looked at Bognor and thought that they're going to win their 8, so we're going to lose out by 2 points. As it was, it goes to the last day of the season. We get a scrappy 1-0 win. I mean, it was a fluke of a goal, but we win 1-0, and then they're held at Chatham, Bognor 1-0, I think it was, and after the game, we've heard we won the league, so that was a really, really good day. Winning the London Senior Cup against AFC Wimbledon was also a really big occasion for the club. They had literally had their full first team out, 4-4 after extra time. We beat them on penalties. That was another one. Plenty of lows. I mean, we've been beaten. I've been beaten. Sorry, as a manager, I think 5 times now in the league playoffs, and they're never nice. I remember Cray beating us in the final. Can't remember. It was a brilliant free kick that won the game for him, and we're on the pitch. And similar to what Steve was saying in that letter, I was trying to, drum up, get the boys' heads up. Great season, be disappointed, but come on, let's clap Cray. And it was just difficult, mate. It was one of those moments that when I was on my own, away from the rest of the boys, I was literally so low because I thought that was the opportunity we had to have got promoted. But I've had so many more highs than lows, meeting brilliant people, enjoying the football and experiencing what non-league football is all about. And we all know, how fantastic non-league football is. Otherwise, us 3, wouldn't have done it for so long.
I mean, can you remember what the first game was? That you took charge of, Jim?
Yeah, I can actually. It was Bracknell Town away. And I brought in a lad called Ian Whitby from the reserves who had been scoring quite a few goals but hadn't been given the opportunity. And I took over Andy Oxby with me. Brilliant player, Andy Oxby. And Andy scored the first, and then Ian Whitby scored 2 more. And we were literally, we had no chance before we went there. They were firm favourites, and we beat them. I think it was 3-1 away. And from there, to be fair, when a new manager comes in, as you know, you get, you pick the players and pick themselves up. We brought some decent players in, and but that was the very first game. Yeah.
So I mean, with that, I mean, was it straight in at Met Police? So do you was that the first manager's job then, Met down there at Met Police?
Yeah, I mean, I'd had run the reserves previously, and then typically me. I took a stand about the amount of non-police players playing for the first team and whatever, and obviously I wasn't the first team manager then, and took a stand and said, well, I can't have this. I'm old Bill. We should be old Bill playing. So I walked away from the club and then went to Romford for a little while. But then obviously when the Met came calling and said, will you run the first team? I was saying, how many non-police players am I allowed to have? So it was a case of that, But there's no way I was going to cut my nose off to spite my face. And through that, I've got to be honest, the lads that have represented that club, really, really good friends of mine, then, and they will be forever. Some great non-league players went over and played down the Met.
With that, mate. Sorry, Dave. With that, mate. What sort of what's your not your characters you've had at Met, and sort of the players that you're looking back over your career that will always stick in your mind over there.
Down the Met, there's a few actually. I think the best player I think that I've ever managed over there, and he'd come towards the end of his career, I suppose, really was John Daly. What a central midfield player he was, and would regularly chip in with minimum of 15 to 20 goals a season from centre midfield. defensively, we were lucky to have Steve Sutherland, who, I know
Yeah.
Suthers, quality player. But as there were some really good homegrown ones, Dave Newman, Ian Batten, Mark Scott, and really Mark Adams, great players and everything. And I was lucky as well that we got Nathan Baxter in from Chelsea, a goalkeeper. Wonderful keeper. He's probably the best goalkeeper I've ever seen, and he was playing at 17 down there. Good kid. But there's too many to mention. Craig Carley, some great goal scorers. But the two funniest boys, and they are honestly they're hilarious. With Danny Bolt and Rob Hayworth, they came as a pair. They was at Fulham together. They went everywhere together. I think Sutton, and ended up over the Met, and they were just brilliant in the dressing room and off the pitch as well.
Did you find when you was managing at Met and you went to some grounds that you got a bit of a funny sort of atmosphere welcome because obviously the name of the club?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. With Gavin and I think we're only threatened once. I think a bloke tried to jump over the dugout to try and get. I think at Gav, to be fair. Well, I couldn't see over the top of the dugout, so it must have been at Gav, I think. But yeah, listen, I used to love it. I used to love some of the songs that used to be sung were brilliant. I'm not that excuse expression, not that anal about this Met Police, this Met Police that. I've been a cop for 30 years, loved it, but at the end of the day, the football, and I brilliant, absolutely brilliant, loved it.
See, the one thing I remember, firstly, ever going over to the Met Police and the ground was like when you walked in the boardroom, sort of how, the trophies and how sort of, not old it was, but sort of grand it sort of was and how sort of proud they were about it. And, I always remember sitting there the first time I went over there looking around going like, wow, like this, that's some proper history around this, which I didn't really know too much about.
Yeah, the club is steeped in history. And I'll tell you the thing around about that as well, Keith, is that literally you only probably had, it's dwindling because sadly people are passing away, from the committee and whatever. But when I left, there was literally only probably about 7 people that done virtually everything down the club, which is a huge undertaking, isn't it? And sadly, others obviously will go in time. The club's in really, really good hands at the moment. They've got a couple of the ex-players that are over there, Ian Pendry, Pat Mullins, that are helping out on the committee now as well, and they're running it in the right way. But you're right, that committee room was a proper old style sort of like Arsenal football club type, huge oak table, wasn't it? And it was brilliant. Yeah, fantastic.
Have you been over there, Dave? Have you ever gone to Invercourt?
No, I've never been. I'll be honest with you. I was always told that it was always the best playing service in the league. I was always told it was like like a carpet to go and play on. It was better than 3G. I was told. So
listen, when you used to, the first thing that struck you when you first pulled in the car park was the size of the floodlights. It was like the old-fashioned Premiership ground, the massive pylons that basically like tripods that went up, and you thought, wow, this is some grand this before you even walked through the gate.
Took a lot of money though to replace those bulbs, though, mate. I tell you. But yeah, it's the ground itself is phenomenal. The pitch has always been good, and fun enough, I actually spoke to Gav recently, and the pitch, he said he's never seen the pitch looking as good as it did at the start of this season as well. Obviously, it's been a long rest, but the whole setup over there is, to be fair, second to none.
And how difficult was that though? Was it being sort of a Met Police side? Did people expect it to be just serving officers that were part of that squad? 100%, or did sort of visiting teams a little bit on edge? I
think that initially when I first started playing over there, it was all old bill playing. You had to be police or police staff to play, so they knew then how it was. But then as soon as it started to get opened up, to non-police personnel, football clubs are aware, obviously, who they're playing against, and especially like I say, with some of the players I mentioned, Danny Bolt. Craig Carley, they know they're not police officers. They've got a history of playing for Sutton United and whatever. So they knew exactly who they was up against. It's difficult. I've got to be honest. I can only praise what they've done since the Met Police, because internally, if you talk to anyone in the job and they'll say, how many old Bill playing? And you say, well, there might be one or none. They're really disappointed because it's all self-funded by the police officers paying into a lottery. So they quite rightly, I suppose, probably want coppers to be playing. The problem is you can't get any time off. You can see, even the M25 demonstrations today, they're getting pulled from pillar to post, etc., etc. And so you can't have a police team. But the academy they've now got in place over there, and they've produced, I think, 4 or 5 lads that have gone on to become pro footballers in a space of a really short period of time. Probably in about 6 years, they've probably had the academy over there. And again, I go back to the foundations that were laid by myself when I was there. I was totally in full support of getting an academy over there because I could see that we've never had a budget over there. Gav still hasn't got a budget over there. So he needs to produce homegrown players as well, which they've done consistently through good scouting, local Sunday sides and things like that. And I've asked them to come over as a whole club, etc., in groups. So it's it's a strange club, but certainly clubs that visited that place, they knew only too well who they was going to be up against.
So talk us through some of your favourite games, Jim. As we stay with Met Police for the time being, but I mean, with the Met, did you have sort of like games that sort of spring to mind and that will always sort of be in your memory?
Yeah, like I say, the one where we won the league against Whiteleaf, but certainly the AFC Wimbledon London Senior Cup final. Gav and I, we looked at the side that they'd picked, and we knew that Wimbledon hadn't had a good season. They were pro side and they were down the bottom of the league. And it was their last game of the season. So I thought, well, if they play a couple of first-team players, they play a couple. But they literally had, I think, 9 of their starting 11 playing. So we looked at it and thought, God, we're in for a tough evening here. And it was played over at Harrowborough. And we're 2-0 down literally in, I think, 10 minutes. And we're thinking, we're going to get an absolute rout in here. But the boys dug in. We made some changes at half-time. And the funny story about that is that there was a bit of a break in play. And for some reason, India 99, which is the Met Police helicopter, was circling overhead. And it wasn't because I found it. He wasn't there looking at the game. They was doing something else. And it stopped for about 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, the helicopter just dived down literally over the ground and went about, 30 feet above everyone's heads, and everyone's ducking and whatever, and they're all clapping it and everything. And it's quite funny because the Wimbledon fans have been giving me and Gav a lot of stick, saying, you got no fans, you got nothing, you're nothing club, got no fans, blah, blah, blah. Straight away, Gav turns around to him and said, you're right, we've got no fans, but we've got one of them, like pointing to the helicopter. And this geezer's face just dropped, But that game was a very, very important one, as was the FA Cup first round against Crawley. They were second in Division 1 at the time. We just thought that we'd be on TV because we were the lowest ranked side in the tournament, playing the team that's second in Division 1. And it wasn't the live game, but we got good coverage. And we got beat 2-1, and we hit the post last kick of the game. So that was another good game. But there's many. Even any win is a good game, isn't it?
So I mean, with your job as well, and sort of doing the games and managing the team and stuff, did it ever sort of the two sort of cross over as such? So, stuff where you couldn't get to games and stuff like that. And did you and how was that with sort of some of the Met Police players that may be sort of serving officers? I mean, how difficult might that have been with round rotors and being called away and stuff? Was that a difficult thing to sort of try and get your head around and manage?
Yeah, it was really frustrating. For myself, it certainly held my career back by my choice. So if I go back to right at the beginning to say I've now packed in football because I want to spend more time with family, what I suppose in hindsight I should have done, I should have continued to go through the ranks. I mean, I stopped at sergeant. I've been a sergeant for almost 20 years. And if I would have continued to have taken the promotion, then who knows, where I would be. But I got myself a job which was literally Monday to Friday working in intelligence and other bits and pieces. So for me, I was fine with the football. Players wise, yeah, I'd get a phone call Saturday morning at say 10 in the morning to say, I've literally just got off nights. I'll come along if you want to play, but I've been working all night and I've just finished work at 10 in the morning. So that's obviously a no. And we had that all the time where people couldn't get off work. You know, I even remember that game against Crawley Town. Craig Brown, who exceptional player for us, brilliant player. The night before Crawley Town, his boss, I won't say where he's working out, basically said that he's not going to be able to play football tomorrow. So, you know, phone calls went into this bloke and he said, well, why is that? He said, because he's a police officer. He can go and play, but he's a police officer first and foremost. He ain't a footballer. And we managed to talk the guy around, but, you know, that was sadly how we could see sport in the Met Police was going anyway.
Did they did the Met Police mind you sort of because you was in intelligence? Was it a bit weird that they were going, well, can you find out about Wingate and Finchley? Did you use that to your advantage?
Well, I found it embarrassing, Keith, when I was ringing up other managers and they'd turn around saying no comment. That's wrong, isn't it? It's wrong. You know, my job, I have worked in some very sensitive roles, and when I've been on, I don't know, like TV or in newspapers and everything, I have had a pull from senior management and say, you know, you need to rein it in a little bit because, you know, you're supposed to be in covert policing, and there you are, manager of the police football club, you know. And it was a toss up then. What do I enjoy most? You know, well, I'll stick to the football. I think I'll move somewhere else, but yeah.
So I mean, you know, with the actual job as well, there must have been some really fun memories as well. Something that, you know, that other people might not have seen, you know, in the dressing rooms or with the players at training, etc., etc. I mean, is there some fun stories you can, you can tell us?
I've got honestly, this is a classic, and I've literally kept this fairly quiet since 2010. So I got a phone call from Chris Bourne. Do you know Chrissy Bourne?
Yeah.
So he obviously coached with David. He helped Dave Collis at Harlow as well, and terrific footballer, really, really good football player. But because, although I'm from, you know, Essex, where he's from, but where I've been managing South all the time, I'd just go and watch teams in the South. And so I didn't really know too much about Chris. So Chris Bourne rang me up, and it was a really difficult conversation because he hardly spoke any English, Chris, virtually nothing. He said, like, you know, I'm a guy, you know, Guyana international. Can I come over and play for you? But it was really broken English and, you know, hey, boss, this, you know, things like that. So we found out he lived local to me. Now, bear in mind, I'm a detective sergeant. John Nicholson, who is one of my assistants, is a detective inspector. So all year, all season, from the start of the season right till the end of the season, we'd pick Chris Bourne up in the car. We'd drive every time, 3 times a week, games, training. And when we'd say to Chris, you're all right, all he would turn around and say is, I'm fatigued, boss, I'm fatigued. And we're thinking, okay, we can't get a lot out of this boy. You know, don't speak a lot of English, but he's a great football player. He's playing, don't worry about that. It's really quite strange because we played East Thurrock that year, and I said to him, Covo, do you know Chris Bourne? He said, oh, I know Bourney well. I said, he's really quiet, isn't he? And then Covo looked at me and thought, he didn't say nothing, and then he just thought, no, I don't think that's the Chris Bourne that I know then. Anyway, so we won the league. Great. We're going to Ascot the following week to go and celebrate. So on the morning of going to Ascot, Chris Bourne rings up, doesn't he? So I pick the phone up and I've gone, all right, Chris, how are you? And he starts talking exactly like me, you and Keith's doing. He's blowing away. I'm looking at the phone and thinking, and I've gone, is that you, Bourney? He went, Coops, yeah, just to let you know, for the last year, I've had a bet with 4 blokes at work, and it was worth a hell of a lot of money, and we either had to join a new football club and say you couldn't speak English, or there was another thing. But he won. I think he won a hell of a lot of money doing it. All year he's fooled me, a detective sergeant working in intelligence, John Nicholson, a detective inspector, like trying to solve murders, and we didn't even know a geezer in the back of our car in the dressing room having us over for a whole year. I mean, it's a quality story. We've been mugged right off. Couldn't believe it, mate. Couldn't believe it. There's another one as well, though, which ain't great on me, because when I played for Ted Hardy at Lankstown, Ilford, my mate was doing house to house. Sadly, a murder had happened near Ted's house. He knocked on the door and he recognised Ted straight away because my mate's a big non-league fan. He gets invited in and he said, oh, hello, Ted, blah, blah, blah. I remember when he was at Dagenham, Leinster, and he said, my mate Jim Cooper used to play football for you. And in Ted Hardy's words, he went, nah, never heard of the kid, never heard of him. I played for 2 seasons for Ted and he can't remember me, bless him. And that's how I modelled my managerial career on him and Stilly.
Stilly, well done. Oh dear. So when obviously you went over to Grays, the same sort of thing there. I don't know, you know, maybe was one of the things that you might have thought about the decision, Jim, is that you knew you had a side that really could compete to win the league. And I know, you know, the breakup the last 2 seasons. Did you sit there think, well, it could be unfinished business? I could just hold out one more year, because really, I think everyone's sort of saying that this could be the strongest North League for a long time. Obviously, since Thamesmead got promoted. No, I'm joking. And you know, and thought, oh, I could go out on that massive high.
That was in the back of my mind, but literally only for seconds. And the reason why is because you know me. If I'm not going to put 100% in, then I'm not going to do it. And as soon as, like, you know, I'd made that decision, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be able to then change my decision and give 100%, because that club and the players and Joinsy and Dave and everyone else down there, the management team, need me as giving 100%, and I wouldn't have done that. So, and I just think also that would be cheating the fans. But you're right about the side, though, Keith. They've got a very, very good chance of success this season. In what you've said already, the league is phenomenal. It's a really good high standard of teams, management, players in that league this year as well. But they've got a good chance.
Did that help, though, with that sort of decision, with the missus, with the rolling pin behind the back of you saying you ain't going anywhere? You said you're stopping, so you're stopping.
Mate, to be fair, I mean, like I say, she supported me in everything, like the police service and the football, you know, and it was just I don't know, it was just that light bulb moment when she said that. I just thought, you know what, you're right. I would like to go skiing. I would like to take some summers, you know, winter sun. And it's only the football that's holding me back. And yeah.
How did the team take it, Jim? When was they surprised?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't told the players at all. I told them after the game when we beat Aveley. Literally, I was tearful. To be fair, like I say, I'm never like that. I mean, listen, I've lost both my parents, and I wasn't really that emotional at times. But I don't know, for some reason, I think it was that realisation that it was over. But the boys were shocked, and you know, Dave Knight, who. Brilliant player, an absolute brilliant player. He's going to do so well for Grays this year. I mean, he just looked up at me and said, you brought me over here. I come over because of you. And I was like, well, I've let you down a little bit there, haven't I? But I knew that he'd settled in. So it was, I think it was short-lived, because we then went out the following Saturday and they were still taking the piss out of me all day. So, you know, it was back to normal again.
So was it set up for your assistant though to take over when it was was that a conversation you already had with him before announcing it to either the chairman or maybe even to the players?
I mean, I've known Joinsy, blimey, over 30 years, I think. Good friend of mine, very, very good friend of mine, and I'd had a really long conversation with him, and he fully understood it. But it's in capable hands with him. There's no two ways about it. You know, he's been at Dover, Stalford. You know, he's got a hell of a lot of managerial experience as well. And it was sad, but it was the right thing for me and my family.
What have you done? Obviously, I know you said you've gone and watched a couple of games, Jim, but how have you sort of found your time with no training, etc., through the week now?
I'm really busy, mate. I've started another business. I mean, I don't think I've told. I'm a funeral celebrant, which, if you can believe that, I actually don't swear during any services either. So I'm very busy anyway. But it's interesting, like you said, because I've had a fairly busy day today, and I knew I was going to do the show, but I'd be at training tonight, and I'd have come home because I've moved out now to Billericay, and it would have been a little bit of a drive, a rush to get there tonight. And I just think I don't miss that. I don't miss it. And I don't think I'm going to either, Keith. You know, I really don't think I will. like I say, I was never really involved in the training anyway. I would always be there and ask the boys to put on a session for what I want from what I've seen from the opposition and whatever, and they do it so well. But yeah, I've been to see Grays a couple of times. I went to see Aveley, Haybridge on Saturday. I'm just going to ground hop and go see as many games of football as I can. Because like I said earlier, and you boys, I just love non-league football. I'm a Chelsea fan. Listen, so I mean, if I could go and watch them, I'd go and watch them. But ultimately, I just prefer non-league football, that engagement with people, talking to people. And it was nice. I mean, I stood there with Craig Johnson on Saturday watching a game with him. Just chatting about bits and pieces. So I really enjoyed it.
And what would you say over your career that sort of made you the manager you are, mate, and obviously the success you've had?
That's a really good question. That
I do have won a series.
Mate, I tell you what, I wouldn't ask my players to do anything that I wouldn't be prepared to do. And that for me is this, that they have to give 100%. If they're not giving 100%, they're not staying down the club. It's as simple as that. And the ethos that the players I brought in all had to buy into what I was trying to build or trying to get across to them. I mean, the boys that Sim, the kit man at Grays, love the kid. He's brilliant. But would take the mick out of me a little bit about this. But there's 5 things I say before a game. You've got to work hard in a game. You've got to win your battles. You've got to communicate. You've got to play football. And then there's personal responsibilities. And they're the 5 things I say every single game. And if they can bring 3 out of those 5 or 4 to 5, you're winning games of football. No issues. Sadly, I mean, another reason, going back for why I also packed the job at football in was the game at Baldock Town. We got beat in the FA Cup. And I know how important the money is for Grays, and we got beat, when really we should be going there, especially the side we had, albeit we had no centre halves at all, really. But we got beat, we got knocked out, so no money. And that really hit me. I mean, I didn't sleep for a week. And then when Anne, my wife, said to me, let's do it, and I thought, on top of that and that, no, it was an easy decision.
You talking about Sim? He's just sent me something, so let's have a read on. I've not read it, so you
better read it first.
No, that's all right. I'll read it as it is. But it says, the first time I experienced Jim was away at Met Police when at half-time we couldn't do a team talk because Jim was going so mad at his players, the walls were shaking, and we just had to sit there and listen to him as we just couldn't hear each other. What a man, though. The thing I'd miss most is his team talks. There's been times when I've been rolled up for war and listening to his last-minute gems of wisdom and his 5 things that are embedded into all players' brains. A truly great man who I'll always have time for. And every time I go to the cake box, I'll think of Jim.
Right. So, yeah, I've just said I love the bloke to bits. That's quite good timing for him to put that in, isn't it? When we'd win a game of football, him and his daughter Millie, I lived in Upminster and I'm stuck at traffic and I'm looking over at this shop, the cake box. And he's in there and he's getting himself cakes and everything. And I've taken photographs, obviously not while I'm driving. And I just me and him have had great banter. He's do you know what? He epitomises to me what Grays Athletic is all about. He used to go and watch Grays from a kid, from a young boy, and he's continued to support them. And there's many, many more like him that are still supporting Grays. And I think that I didn't really experience that side of it at the Met Police because, we discussed it before. The Met had very few supporters, for obvious reasons. But when I went to Grays and saw these fantastic people who just want success or just want the boys to try as hard as they can for Grays Athletic, I was sold to the club straight away.
What have you enjoyed mostly about football, non-league football, Jim?
The interaction with the players, other managers for definite. I mean, I've made, honestly, friends for life, the management side. You discussed at the beginning, Keith, we always had a really, really good relationship. And I think that embedded within that, I think yours is exactly the same as me. It's that mutual respect for people. You know, Gary McCann, you mentioned him earlier. You know, there's
Covo.
I mean, there's loads of it. I mean, I could literally go through, all of them. You know, the management side of it has been brilliant. That interaction and ringing each other up and finding out if you watch them, blah blah blah. You know, and the interesting thing, that, I mean, I think you've said, I think every manager who's been on your show has said similar about, do these players not think that managers don't speak to each other? Well, we're always on the phone to each other. Do you know this one? Blah, blah, blah. What's it all about? And, I'm going to miss, the interaction, like, Stevie McKinn, Morrow, from the National South and things like that. But everyone, I got some really, really good telephone calls from people, chairman, Colin McBride, Gary White, some people that, I know and respect and they sent through quite a lot. But yeah, the management side, I'm going to really miss the boys there.
So going back to a name you just mentioned, then you haven't had a phone call have you, from a certain Mr. Gary White asking if you would take over at Abridge?
No, do you know what? No. But before I got the Grays job, I actually went for the job at Haybridge, and I thought I'd got it. So I'm driving home, and then he gives me a phone call and pies me off me for a bloke called Julian Dix. I mean, what's he done?
He ain't rung me either, Jim. So
the thing is, Keith, Gary and my brother, I think, were in the same class at school as well. You know what I mean? So he's quite close. But yeah, he's listen. Again. Do you know what? That's really talking about that side of it. I made really good friends as well with Jody Brown and Frank Wilson when we done the other show I was doing for a while. And Gary's heavily involved in that side of it as well. That club, Haybridge, is a fantastic club. Really is. Yeah. I hope they, whether or not Steve Tilson's going to be offered a job, I don't know. But there were some managers over there on Saturday watching them, put it that way, who are looking for a job. So it wouldn't be too surprised if they make an announcement soon.
So, talking about managers and that, Jim, tell us, who was your favourite manager to go up against, and who was the one that you absolutely despise going up against? Not in a bad way. I don't mean that in somebody that you didn't like, but somebody that was, because I
was looking forward to that one. I was looking forward to that.
Listen, you can tell us that one as well if you want to. But I mean, it's just I didn't want to put you on the spot. But if you want to tell us who you despise and you want to go against, then by all means, go for it.
I didn't despise anyone. Honestly, I didn't despise anyone. There was one or two that I didn't get on with, which was very, very rare. Because I'm talking about one, maybe or two in the whole of my career who I really just don't particularly get on well with. Gary McCann was always good to go up against, and Danny Cowley. So Danny Cowley, what a manager he is, isn't he? He's Jekyll and Hyde, that guy. Pitch side, you look at him, you think you are not the same person who is the same bloke who'll come and have a drink with you in a bar afterwards, And I don't think I ever beat Concord. With any of the sides that I took down and played them, he was phenomenal. But as I've mentioned already, Gary McCann, Steve McKinn, I used to love going up against them. There's some good people, and obviously Keith as well.
So who was the one that you dreaded getting up against, though? Do you know what I mean?
The same names. Because whoever, whoever won or whoever lost, there was always going to be a little bit of banter about it. Alan Dowson, we get on really well with Dowse, and we won the Surrey Senior Cup down the Met, and so I texted him and said, "Oh yeah, we're the best side in Surrey now." And obviously he was at Hampton at the time, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't think so." In his Newcastle accent on his text message as well, and Hayden Bird, I used to love. We have a good banter with Hayden as well, and but like I say, there's literally, I promise you, only one, maybe two managers who I've just got no time for whatsoever. I wouldn't name them, although he was over there watching Haybridge on Saturday.
But what about somebody like Craig Edwards? I mean, what was it like going up against somebody like Craig?
Brilliant, loved it. Absolutely loved Craig. I mean, I don't know if he's ever told. I mean, the Dulwich job. I put him up for the Dulwich job. I spoke to the chairman at the time and said, "Do you know what? I think you should be, getting Craig Edwards in." I can't remember where he was at the time. He'd done a really good job somewhere, and he went there and he's done a brilliant job. I'll go and I'll have beers with Craig. He's got. I'm going to give him a free advertisement here. He's got a fantastic tea hut right in the middle of Hornchurch Town Centre. I took all our management team to have a few beers with him just after COVID had opened, just so he could get some beer, some money, and whatever. Mate, he is a brilliant, brilliant manager. And I mean brilliant, because he knows exactly how to handle individual players. He knows which one needs an arm around the shoulder. He knows which one he can really give it to. But there, he has that song, doesn't he, at the end of the. I couldn't tell what it is. You know what I mean? Thankfully, when I played against him, I haven't heard of that often because he very rarely beat me. But when we was down and met, because they'd been giving it to us before, I think they beat us before. I'll never forget it. We won the game, so like I'm standing there, and I don't normally do it, but I had to get back this way. And we're banging on the door, not their door, our one. We're just giving it. Just as I'm doing that, Craig walks up the long passageway, and he gives me like the Craig Edwards stare, and I thought, I think I better shut the door now. So yeah, he's a legend, the bloke, an absolute legend.
I mean, so talk to us then. I mean, you said about your TV career. I mean, how did all that come about with Football Exclusives? I mean, not Football Exclusives, Back of the Net. I mean, how did that actually come about with those guys and getting involved in that side of it?
Yeah, it was when I left the Met voluntarily because they went to the Southern League. I got a phone call from Ben, who was the producer, and said, "I don't know if you've seen a couple of our shows." And I said, "Yeah, I have." He said, "I'd like you to come on board. I don't know if you know Frank and Jody and whatever." And I said, "Do you know what? I'll give it a go," because I wasn't doing anything. Like I say, I love non-league football. And it gave me the opportunity to discuss players, go and see games, etc., etc. And to be fair to the show, which it evolved, got better probably as I left, funny enough. And yeah, listen, I enjoyed that. But I mean, but that was a good platform for non-league football, as is your show. It's I try to explain to people who's not involved in non-league how passionate it truly is, and the dedication needed from everyone, from the volunteers, because the volunteers run the football club. So which chairman may pay wages of the players, but the volunteers who give their time up, for nothing, just for the love of the club. That for me just shows the passion of non-league football. So to be involved on a televised thing weekly was quite an honour, to be fair.
Mm. And just going back, obviously, your career, what sort of the favourite ground you've been to, and obviously your least favourite ground you didn't like travelling to?
Oh, that's a good question. I've been to really, really good grounds. I mean, when I was playing with Dagenham, obviously you visited all the higher ranked teams and whatever. I've got this. I like Dartford's new stadium. I just really like it over there. I think it's really good. Pitch sometimes isn't great, but it's just the whole structure over there. Maidstone United, another one, built well. And I'm gonna have to. I mean, I think Craig Johnson's Aveley is a really, really good development, and I'm really interested, and I'm quite excited for the boys over at Tilbury. I think that Tilbury's plans for what their plans in place to for their new ground is going to be spectacular. And I mean, the Grays fans may not like me saying this, but it's a fantastically run club from the chairman through to the management team, and I think that club will probably go places because they've got the facilities in the future to do that as well. The least ones I wasn't particularly happy with Molesey, if I was honest, places like that.
Journey, not for you.
Well,
long journey for us.
It was a long journey, but I was doing that 3 times a week, wasn't I?
Yeah.
But, living in Essex, then travelling to Esher 3 times a week was a bit of a bind. There aren't that many poor clubs there, are there?
No.
I mean, with yourself, was there ever a player though that you know, as a manager that you've always sort of coveted, but you've just never been able to get hold of, you know, for Met Police or for Grays? Was there somebody out there that you've really wanted and have never been able to get to play for you?
Many of them. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, untold amount of players, to be honest. And that's why, if I went back to what I said right at the beginning about João Carlos, he was one that honestly I was desperate to. I mean, down the Met, I wanted to sign him virtually every year, but knew we was never going to prize him away from Grays. Yeah, so he was one, but thankfully, I have to say, I got to manage him. But there's been so many, Dave. There's some great players in non-league football now. I think this, the one, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to sound ungrateful. I think the one thing I regret as a manager not being in a position is to have a healthy budget. I've never ever had, not a healthy budget because they've given what they could, a top 5 budget. That would have been great. I've never ever had that. So it would have been interesting to see what I could have done with more money, because, you know, it's clubs that have got a lot of money and managers get lauded. Oh, they've won the league. Yeah, it is still very difficult to win the league. It really is, even with a huge budget. But it can half help you if you've got a big budget, that's for sure. You know, especially, you know, my ethos was, if a player, regardless of even if they're not on contract, hardly any of my players have ever been on contract, if they got injured, 4 weeks, full money. And I'm still paying them to the detriment, obviously, of the squad, because, you know, they got injured playing for me. I'm not going to see them out of pocket. So, yeah, that's the one thing for me. I mean, there's been loads of players that I've tried to sign, and then when you speak to them, they come up with a budget that they'd like, and I'm like, I can't get anywhere near it. So, you know, the phone, you know, thanks very much for giving me the time, but I can't afford that. So, yeah.
How much?
Who was the?
I mean, sorry,
Go on,
mate,
Dave. Go on.
I was going to say, when you was at Met Police, though, I mean, how much pressure was you under, maybe from your day job, if you've got a serving police officer playing for you there, and of course he gets an injury that causes him, you know, to miss time at work? I mean, was that ever an issue, or was that ever a problem as well?
Yeah, it was always an issue. Not with me as a manager, but with the player, it certainly was, because their sickness record obviously gets affected by whatever they want to do away from football within the police service. But yeah, there's been issues, and as time got on, you know, wore on, and quite rightly, the Met Police Service took stock, I suppose, really, of people playing football for the Met of a Saturday when they could be working, or, you know, maybe potentially getting injured. I think really that the realisation that any sport in the Met was not going to be looked upon favourably. So that's when that time was to go and get outside players, you know. But yeah, thankfully in my time there were very few bad injuries from cops playing, because you're right, that would have been pretty bad for them, not for me and the club.
Over your managerial career, Jim, was there one person in particular, if that you could always not, you know, rely on, that you know was your, not just your number two, but someone that you trusted, that maybe not even part of your management team, that if you needed someone, you always picked the phone up when they were there?
Outside of the management team, outside the Met management team or Grays, yeah. I mean, I would speak to Steve McKim quite a lot, if I was honest. We both had periods of poor results, and straight away, a text message or a phone call, I'd ring him up and say, "Listen, stick at it. You know, you're going to turn it round." And it's really quite strange, because, to be fair, you know, Steve and I never. He played a much higher standard than I was playing at the time, that's for sure. A much better player I ever was. So it was only, we got that mutual respect through management as well. But yeah, he was one of those sort of like blokes I'd ring up, and, you know, and vice versa. To be fair, same with Gary McCann when he was at Hendon, not so much at Hampton and whatever. But yeah, there's quite a few. But I have to be honest, mate. Both Gavin McPherson and Paul Joynes as number twos have been, like, they're brilliant. I mean, you know, I don't mean this in a bad way. You pick the phone up to Gav, you're on the phone for an hour. The boy can talk. I mean, literally can talk. And Joino ain't too far off it either. But, you know, they're two really good, close friends of mine and their confidants. And it wasn't all about football. It was about everything, personal life, you know, your family life, etc. And they always had a good ear.
And what about player-wise? Was there a player, one player in particular that you could always call upon? Obviously, when you changed clubs or you needed, you know, or you might have left, come back, that you always thought, right, he's my go-to player that, you know, that would always be the first one I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the Billy Crook would be the one I always wanted to sign. You know, who I'd had previously. I mean, sorry. So Billy Crook was over the Met. What a player! He still is. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then he moved on and played a lot higher. But every time, you know, at the start of every season, Billy Crook's the one I pick the phone up to. You know, any chance of rekindling this relationship, mate. I get on so well with him and his family and whatever. And yeah, he's one of those players. You're right, mate. There always is, isn't there? As you know, there's always those players that you can pick the phone up to. I mean, I've got to be honest, you know, Steve Sutherland played down the Met for a long, long time, and got a lot of respect for him. You know, there's quite a few boys that were down there that I would pick the phone up to, and you know, come on, let's get back, you know, let's get it back on again and things like that. But yeah, Jay Lovett. I mean, Jay Lovett's another one. Jay Lovett's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in football. You know,
who's working with Steve now, obviously. Yeah,
exactly right. They're doing well, doing a good job. Burgess Hill. They've got a fantastic manager there and coach. So he's another one I'd like to, you know, pick out and say, yeah, he's a legend, that kid. Really good.
Was there sort of clubs as you went through with Met Police and McGrath's that you had more success at than others? Was there one sort of club that you looked at and thought, right, okay, God, don't really fancy this game this weekend. I never get a good result there, or you know, that sort of stuff front. Or was there one that you actually physically look forward to as well that, you know, you always got the result against?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be sides that I suppose you put down as your bogey sides, isn't there? And for the Met, I think Hendon were our one. You know, they beat us in the playoffs, but they generally beat us in the league. I mean, I think they even went down to 9 men in one of the games and ended up beating us as well. It was just one of those clubs that, well, you know, Gary's probably a better manager than me. He never had to manage a side better on the day than I did. But yeah, we didn't have a lot of success with against Hendon. And to be fair, I didn't used to like going down their ground either. So yeah, it was a bit of a twin effect on that one. Was there a side we always beat? Thamesmead, I think.
Yeah, that doesn't make you a great manager, because there was another 78 managers that had that as well.
Yeah, in fact, mate, I don't even think that's true either.
Oh dear. I think you gave us an idea the first time we come to Met Police.
I mean, I know for a fact, so I actually managed 634 league games for the Met. So trust me, we must have played the same side so many times over that period of time. I couldn't tell you which ones really were the ones that we struggled against.
Over again, keep saying it, over the course of the years you've done it, Jim, if there's one thing that you could change in non-league football, what would it be? Social media. What now to what it was going back? Well,
it's I just like there's what annoys me, and to be fair, it actually did annoy me. And I said I weren't that bothered about it, but even on the Grays forum, you've got, and I know for a fact they're players that I've binned. They're players that I've got rid of that go on under a pseudonym and say, "Oh, this guy's 1970s like Ted Lasso," blah blah blah. It don't annoy me. It doesn't annoy me what they're saying, because everyone's entitled to an opinion. What annoys me is that they're going on in a pseudonym. Why don't you just put your own name on it? I ain't going to fall out with you, mate, if you don't like what I don't care. You know, that's up to you, innit? So that side of it. And the second one for me, and it's a massive, massive bugbear to me, players playing Sunday football as well. And I can't believe the amount of players that are very good players picking up a lot of money for their sides of a Saturday and then go and put on a video of them playing for whoever it is on the Sunday afternoon. I don't get it. In fact, you know, at Grays, I said, if I find out if any of you boys are playing Sunday football, then you're gone. Well, I'm not going to entertain it. It's up to you, you know. But you've got to give everything to Grays Athletic, or yeah.
So I suppose one thing for me then, I suppose, is in a way, and don't worry, the missus ain't listening, and we'll cut this bit out. But if there's one, you know, is there any way that we could see Jim back in the management game? Is there one club out there that if they phoned you up tomorrow and said, look, you know, we want you to come and manage our team for us, would you come out of retirement after your skiing holiday? Would you think about it?
There's only one club that I really wanted to manage, and that was Hornchurch. You know, I'm local boy to them, played for them. Went for the job. Again, for nothing. Obviously, they made the right decision. They gave it to Stimo, and you know, FA Trophy winners. You know, but I remember saying to Colin McBride when they in the semi-final, they won on penalties, didn't they? In the semi-final, when I said, listen, he's done so well to get you to Wembley. I said, but if you put me there, you wouldn't have needed penalties. So. But Hornchurch would have been the one. But no, I'm done, mate. I'm done. I'm very content with my decision.
So like if Barnet came calling or somewhere like that came calling?
No, not Barnet. Definitely not Barnet. No. It's a great club, isn't it? Great club. A shame what's happening over there at the moment. Fantastic ground. Brilliant, isn't it?
Huge.
Yeah, you want those clubs to do well, didn't you? Because the facilities over there and everything, it's just not happening for them at the minute.
No. So, Jim, if you had an ex-player or a young fella ring you up that's thinking of going into management, what advice would you give him?
Just be true to your values. Stick by your values, because if you've been given a job, it's because of what you're all about and your previous experience. Yeah, you have to adapt to the game, and I've had to adapt over the 20 or 18 years I've been doing it. Of course you do. You have to reinvent yourself, but always, you know, believe in what you're doing is right. And listen, and it is something that is really important to me, is that always be honest with the players. You know, don't, you know, if you're not going to play somebody on a Saturday, don't come up with a cock and ball story about I'm doing this, that, because of this, that, and the other. Just say to them, listen, you haven't been playing particularly very well, but you know you'll be getting another chance soon. Just, you know, stay there. So that's my, just be true to the ethos of your style of management.
Go on, mate. So I'm just trying to sort of think out. Go on, mate. You go for it.
Oh, okay. And again, you know, just for people that sort of don't know much about non-league football and management, and obviously now you've retired, just sort of explain sort of work that you put in the week.
So, I mean, Monday to Friday, I'm on the phone to Joinsy every single day, the assistant manager, talking about training, about the games, who we've got coming up, players, budgets. That's literally, that's at least probably 2 hours every single day, just talking about that side of it. Bearing in mind, obviously, you're working as well, so you've got to fit that in there. Training on a Monday night, you're there. I know boys are there from 7 till 9, but you're there early to make sure everything's right, etc., and you leave last. So that's quite a big undertaking. And then obviously games, you know, it's a 1 o'clock meet for me for 3 o'clock kickoff, and I don't get home even, like, you know, I'm 10 miles from Grays now. I won't get in till after 7 o'clock. Right, that's my fault because the bar's open. But there is a lot of so much that people don't understand that you have to do. And as I say, but then on the Sundays, like I said earlier, I was quite happily going to watch the Grays youth and the Grays ladies and Grays girls because I bought wholeheartedly into the whole setup over there. But it's a 7 day a week thing. And like I said, if you get beat, Keith, you know, you don't sleep, certainly not that night. But that FA Cup one for me was a whole week. I just did not get any sleep at all. You tick about it, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the effect it has on your family as well, which sometimes you do forget about.
Yeah, you do. And that's right. And that's why you do need the support from back home, that they know that that this is something that's to be fair, when I met my wife, I was playing for Dagenham at the time, so I've always done non-league football, you know. we met in 1990, so that's all she's known me is football. So I mean, it'd probably be her who kicks me back to football if there is anyone.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
How long is it going to be before she says, "Get out of the way, I don't want you here on a Saturday afternoon"?
I've had enough of these weekends away now. You're spoiling my shopping trips. Yeah.
But I mean, the family, though. I mean, the family relieved to see you sort of come away from the stresses and strains of that, and even though it's something that you've loved doing and all the rest of it, but it must be great for yourself and the family to spend that more time together and have that time that you haven't had, as you said, where you've been so busy with your job and all the rest of it. So it must be a sort of a different type of weekend altogether.
We're going to have a completely different life now, aren't we? I mean, we're going away to Oxford this weekend. We're just going to spend a couple of nights away. Just enjoy the weekend, I suppose. Really.
Someone's popping up to say hello to you.
Ah, young Stephen. You all right, mate?
How are we, sir? He's connecting his audio.
You think the level he manages at, that should know how to work this by now, shouldn't he?
I ain't got a clue. Is he talking to me, Keith?
There you go, look.
Yeah? Am I in?
You're in.
You're in. How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm good. How are you? Hello, Jim. How are you, mate?
Very well, mate. Very, very well. Good to see you.
And you. And you.
So your thoughts on Jim's announcement, Steve, and what's your thoughts about the man?
Do you know what? Me and Barry were talking about him Saturday because I haven't contacted him in terms of, apart from social media, I haven't rung him. And that's not because I don't like him anymore. It's more the fact of the matter is I wanted him just to let him have time to himself because there's obviously a big decision that he's made after the amount of years he's been involved in football. And then it was a case, me and Barry spoke on the way home on the coach on Saturday, just talking about it and said that we'd get in touch with him like in the next week or so. But I was shocked, very shocked. Probably can't say it on here, but I felt something, and I haven't heard any conversations, but I felt something behind the scenes might have happened because he's too good a manager not to be involved in football. When he was out after he left the Met, it was surprising. But again, it's probably his choice to get the right job. It was surprising that he wasn't in it sooner. So yeah, deeply shocked about it really, because people like Jim that have been about in it for years, I'm not saying he's old, but he is. Yeah, he's going to be sadly missed. And I know it's old cliches and stuff like that, but he is. He's a top man. Helped me out on many occasions when I first started, through football and through other stuff. And like I say, I class him as a very, very good friend of mine.
Listen, I appreciate that coming from you. And I don't know if you heard earlier, I was just, generally singing your praises for some strange reason. But, yeah, but you have. I mean, the question was earlier, who would have been your go-to person when things weren't going right? And I actually said, you could self, we did speak to each other occasions when either of us were having a bit of a bad time, wasn't it? And we both experienced, the lows at times. So yeah, but yeah, mate, we were talking about earlier on about young managers. I mean, I've got so much respect for you, Barry, what you're doing over your current club and previously. Yeah. So it's. I told the boys, Steve, it's been an honour, really, mate, to have got to know you, and I didn't really know you from the playing days either. So it was just purely through management, wasn't it? Exactly,
and that's the thing with it. We'll growl at each other in the dugout, and we would do, but our opinions wouldn't match sometimes. But at the end of the day, that's forgotten. Then you have a drink in the bar after, and talk about it when the pressure of the match ain't on. Yeah, I done well getting that game called off at your place, though, didn't I? Yeah, of course you did, but I'll still speak to you. So that's not a problem.
So it's one game I wish I got called off at his place on Boxing Day.
Well, that was a bad one, wasn't it?
Dear.
But have you got any funny stories about the man for us, Steve? I mean, anything that that comes to mind straight away?
Dave, if he has, he's lying.
No, you probably hear of it. All managers scream and shout, and they do, and I do it. Not so much now, and I think Jim probably got to the stage where he thought it was falling on deaf ears anyway. But when we play at their place, because at Met Police, because the change rooms were so close, it was a case of if you were leading. I remember we played there, and Rivs played Jim, and he scored in the second half, I think it was. But I think we ended up winning one of the only times, because you used to always have the hoodoo over us. We beat you 3-0 that night, I think. But half time, it was the case I couldn't do a team talk because they couldn't hear me. He was going ballistic in that changing room. And it's like one of them. You couldn't even say it fueled us up to go and do better. It was one of them. I think players in my changing room were shocked, even though I've had goes at them. They were shocked at the volume of it. But it worked for him over a number of years. Like you say, you have to do it now and again. But then, like I say, the only other thing was when, like he mentioned there, when he come to our place, and to be fair, that we'd done the wrong thing. We started digging up the pitch to try and get rid of the water, and it just went into a swamp, didn't it?
Yeah. We were struggling for a side massively, and
no
Steve knew that. So obviously he's trying to get the game on. I'm trying to get it off, and I'm literally following the referee. I'm literally like about a yard away from him, all the way around that pitch, you know.
Saying, I hope you got your driving licence. I hope you ain't had a drink. He's giving him one of them.
That was 11 o'clock in the morning as well. I hadn't even got to the ground, and he'd done 3 laps of the pitch.
It's funny. Not on the same scale to what you're saying about trying to get games called off. I remember one of the teams that I had from Waltham Abbey, and we played it, and we went over there the night before, and we were playing sort of top of the league, and they all thought that we wanted to get it called off and all the rest of it, and we were going over there and sanding the whole pitch, spending about £100 on sand, and just sanding this whole pitch just to try and make sure that with the weather, the forecast for the following day, that it was still going to be on because the sand would soak it up. Walked down on the Sunday morning to go down there with the kids to play the game of football, and it looked like a beach because it all sunk down to one end of the pitch, and it was just like this huge, great big boulder of sand all down one end, and they played. No, you can't play this. It's fair enough. But
which was like at Tunbridge that day.
Yeah, it was. It was awful. It was bad that day. What a sand it was when we put that on it. But, no, so like I say, it'd just be. I don't know. What will you feel like, Jim? I'm not being the host here, but what do you feel like having no football?
No, mate, I've made the right decision. I'm really happy. There is nothing untoward around the decision. It was purely that I've as you know, I'm weeks away from retirement now from the old deal, and just took stock when the missus said let's go skiing, let's do a winter break, and I said, well, I can't with football. It was like, do you know what? And then the penny dropped, you know, light bulb moment.
Lovely. Well, like you say, you can enjoy the rest of it now. You give great service to football.
But I'll be over to watch you boys as well soon and things like that.
Exactly. So have a nice pint again.
Yeah.
It'd be brilliant. But like I say, you will be sorely missed by people that you know before me and after me, because you're a person that everyone gets on with. Simple as that. And like I say, during the 90 minutes, you might not go in with people, but that's football. As long as you're humble and afterwards it's just normal people, then that's what you've got in abundance. And the help you've given me on other things other than football, and we won't go into that. It's been unbelievable to have a friend like you to help out like that, Jim. I've got to say that honestly.
Oh, that's lovely coming from you, mate. That's very appreciated.
No
with all these technical difficulties that we had at the beginning, I've got a few other people that want to say something to you as well, Jim. If I can actually try and get this to come up, we'll work on it, and as I'm going along, just to see if I can actually get it to come up. But there is a couple of other people that want to say something as well. So just give me a second if I can find it, and then once I find it, we'll share it to you. But over to you.
I don't have any money, Dave, do I?
Who knows? We're trying anyway, but go on, you carry on.
He retires soon, so I have a few quid to start showing out.
Well, at least he's watching.
Captain.
Yeah. Well, he can buy us all a beer anyway.
Yes, I'll promise you that's going to happen anyway. That'll happen.
Right. Hopefully, this will come up. Here we go.
Oh, young Macca.
Jim, aka Gaffer, you know, it's been a pleasure over the last 3 or 4 seasons. You brought me over to the club. You're a great manager, but also a better person for the pitch. As you've seen, you've already come over to one of the games and been with all the supporters, shouting and cheering us on, which is good to see. We've had some great times, some good highs and some lows, but we've always stuck together, and you stuck with us, boys. One of my best moments with you has been definitely, well, wasn't a good game when obviously we didn't play very well, and normally you would come in and tear us apart, but yeah, you came in and called us a bunch of flowers, which is always nice. So it's one of the best things you've ever said to me, so, or nicest, should I say. So, but no, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoy your retirement. You deserve it. No doubt you'll be still around the football a lot, and you won't be having much break, but you deserve it. You're a top person, and look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks for everything.
Gaffer, just want to send you a quick video to say good luck in your retirement. It's been an absolute pleasure playing for you, and it's been nice to have a manager that gets the best out of me. I haven't had that for a very long time, so thank you very much. One of my greatest memories was when you dragged me for answering back to you, but yeah, I think I learned the hard way not to answer back, and we made up after, and I think our relationship got stronger from then on. Really gutted you've retired, but you know, very well deserved. You've had a great career in non-league football, and you should be very proud. And I'm looking forward to hearing your voice on the side as a spectator as we carry on and hopefully win the league. Good luck, Gaffer, and I'll catch you soon.
Coops was one of those managers I held in the highest regard from the minute I met him, and I put him in the same bracket as Alan Dowson and John Coventry. These guys, these live football. They would support you when you weren't playing them. Of course, you could always ring them, have a natter, and they'd spend hours after the match setting the world to rights. And it's been an absolute privilege knowing and working with Jim. And for me, after my dad died, the support that Jim gave to me is something that I will be forever grateful for. And I hope you have a most enjoyable retirement. Football is not going to be the same without you, and I hope to see you in a football stadium sometime soon, even if it's down here or up here in Liverpool. Take care, Jim.
Gaffer, good luck on your retirement. You'll be truly missed at Grays. I just want to say, from a personal perspective, it was great to obviously meet you and play under you. Even if you did like to shout at me a lot, you brought out the best in me, and I wish you all the best of luck in your retirement with your family. So yeah, love you lots, mate. Well done for everything that you've done, and I'm sure that I'll speak to you when I'm back in the UK.
Just a couple of people there that wanted to say something to you, mate. So that was thanks to Sim as well. So Sim manages to get those for me. So that was a big thank you to him for doing that. But
mate, that's great, you know, because obviously they're the players that have been playing with me recently, and Dave as well. And listen, I always used to say to the players, you know, you're never going to be me, mate. You know, you're never going to be invited around my house. You know, you're my, you know, I'm employing you to play football for me. But I think they saw right through that. I loved every single one of the players. You know, I respected them for what they'd done on the pitch, and at times, you know, as you saw afterwards, you know, off the pitch as well. They're good lads. Good lads.
What did you do to Mitch? Put him in handcuffs or something?
What did they what, Steve? What's that?
What Mitch said about you had a falling out and then you become great mates. What did you do? Put him in handcuffs?
No, he wouldn't let me do that bit. He wouldn't let me do that bit, mate. But mate, listen. I've you know, Steve. I've given some players some advice.
Yeah.
I mean, Nathan Fox. He was referring to. We went and played the Met Police in a pre-season game, and this is at half time. And I've literally taught him a new one because I knew that if I could get him on side, he's the boy that he's a quality player, and he appreciated that side of it. And yeah, it's good to hear. Good to hear.
They do in the long run, mate. They do. And like I say, the amount of players that you've had and helped within your club and without your club, mate. Like I say, them messages there just from a few. That's not your old players either. That's your newer recruits. So you think the ones you've had for a long period of time down at the Met, what they think of you. And I can't think or know of anybody that have a bad word to say against you. I've got to be honest with you, mate. You're terrific.
Very kind. Cheers, mate.
I want to know what Nathan's doing in Dubai. It's a bit of all right, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, huge loss for Grays, but his missus was offered a really good role work out there, and he's now got some work out, and he's also playing football out there as well. So he's living the life. He's a great kid. Love him. Brilliant.
With all these messages you've had, with all the messages you've had, Jim, and now you're stepping back. Sort of, I know you said about you was emotional when you told the sort of your team as well, but and I know before Steve come on, we spoke about Steve and some of the others that have sent you messages. But does that just sometimes does that put a big lump in your throat? And have you sat back and thought, obviously, I must have done something right.
Yeah, that one definitely, like what you say. I felt proud to receive messages like from Steve and him coming on tonight. He's a busy man, and he's a successful football manager. But and others, I had some really great answer phone messages or text messages. So you've done something right, and that's all you do. I mean, like I say that I said earlier, there's only one, maybe two managers I just didn't get on with at all, and I suppose that's always going to happen, but the majority of time, it's been an absolute joy.
And did you get anything from the league itself, from the Isthmian League? Did you get any contact from anybody from them? And I mean, I know you spent quite a bit of time with Craig, and of course we share anything, but any sort of special messages from them guys?
I think Kelly Discipline put something out from the league, which was nice of her. I've always got on well with Kelly. Nick's in a WhatsApp group of mine as well, and some nice messages from there. So yeah, it was the league's been brilliant. It's a fantastic league. They work hard as well, and everyone just puts great effort off the pitch for non-league football, and without people like that, there wouldn't be a non-league structure as it is with it.
Steve, do you see him coming back anytime? How long do you think he can stay away from?
Do you know what? Listening to him there, I don't think so. I think that he's a family man, a proud family man. He's got a lovely family, and I think that, like you said, the light bulb moment of he can go and do what he wants when he wants. I think that's basically it, a nail on the head. Whereas before, the Met Police thing, he left there probably because of the travelling and stuff. Got himself back in, done a great job. But like you say, family is more important nowadays, especially with loads of things. And COVID's given a lot of people a lot of time to think about and reflect on how they go about their everyday life. And I think that decision he's made, I think, will be final. Personally, I hope it don't come back to bite me on the backside, but I think his wife, like my wife, like every manager's wife or football player's wife or girlfriend or partner, suffer. Even if they like football, they still suffer because they're there all the time when you come home to when you leave in the mornings, deal with the heartache, the jubilation. They're all part of your journey. And now he can put that to one side and enjoy his family time. And I think he'll thoroughly enjoy that.
So Jim, when does your retirement completely kick in then? How long have we got left with the Met Police?
I've only got 3 more weeks of work, albeit I don't retire until March the 13th, but I've only got 3 weeks that I'm actually going to be in. I shouldn't really.
Is that all the holiday you've got in Backloo, yeah?
Yeah, I've been. There's a term called laundering all your rest days, so I've been hiding all my annual leave and everything. So you wouldn't think so from a cop, would you? But yeah, so I'm in for the next 6 months. I've only got 3 weeks at work, so I'll be able to. Like I say, I'm going to Oxford this weekend. It'd be nice to spend some time with the missus, isn't it?
Do us a favour, them 3 weeks, you couldn't get them idiots off the motorway for us, could you?
Gents, sorry to be rude, but I ain't not been in from coaching and my dinner's on the table.
Yeah, so, go on, mate.
No worries, Steve.
Steve, been an absolute pleasure, mate. You're an absolute star. I wish you well moving forward. I'll see you soon anyway.
I'll speak to you in a week, mate. Thanks very much, mate.
No worries.
Steve.
We'll get you on again soon, mate. See
you later. Bye.
Well,
genuinely a decent fella.
He is,
brilliant. Absolute brilliant.
Well, we're trying to get Liam on as well, and Liam Ames, he's going to come on as well, but I think he's hopefully he's going to try and sort his camera out and get to see him. But I suppose football-wise itself now, Jim. I mean, in that sort of North Division, I mean, what are you expecting in that North Division? Are you expecting Grays to go away and take the league this year, or are you expecting others? Well, Harlow played Malden at the weekend, and in a friendly, and I know it was only a friendly. Harlow won 3-1, but they did look like a decent side again, Malden. So they're going to be there or thereabouts as well.
The North's a strong league this year. I spoke to Flanners from Brentwood on Saturday, and Liam and Mark at Tilbury on Saturday as well. We were discussing some of the sides that I've seen so far this year. If I'm honest, I think that Grays will have got a very, very good chance if they can keep the players injury free, and they've got a big injury list at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very strong, the North League, very strong. But I think they've got a very good, very, very good chance of certainly making the playoffs, if not going all the way.
What do you think, Keith, though? Where's your on it?
Listen, it was tough. I'm going to say, and Jim's got big boots to fill, even though he put it in really capable hands. But he has got a very, very good squad there, and I said that from day one. And it is a really tough league. We said about Barking. Justin's recruited very well. He's put a lot of the old Cray lads in. My old centre forward, who I still think will maybe be close to winning the Golden Boot. Stick him along with Jules Purcell, and they've got goals coming out of their ear holes. But there is that continuity as well, and that they're Malden, like you said, there's any of 8 or 9 sides. But if Jim was still pushing the old wheel, I'd strongly go there. But I still, they are going to be there or thereabouts because of the continuity with who took charge now. But it is such a tough league, Dave. That one is so hard to call anyway, because there is 8 or 9 sides that could be it. Obviously, Haybridge were one. With Julian thought that they would be there or thereabouts. Obviously, they got a little bit of catching up to do, but yeah, no, it's a really. I need to, Averley. We keep mentioning them. I know they had a good day and a drew with Haybridge, but they're very strong. So I am going to try and get across the other side and start watching some of the games. I expect Tilbury to start picking up again, as Jim said. They've got a very good side, 2 great managers over there as well. So it's good. If you're neutral, you'd want to go and watch that level.
But I mean, when we spoke about it before, we just got Liam and that. But I mean, when we actually looked at it before, I don't think we would have been sitting here, after 6 games going, well, Whittam in 6, Sudbury in 5th, Felixstowe 4th, Dereham in 3rd. I don't think they would probably be some of the names that we would have been talking about.
Sudbury's always been a big club, and with Mark before, and the managers they've had, so they've always been a big club. Whittam have had a brilliant start, and I've said that to you. And they have really started well, and they needed to, and hopefully, but as a season, as we all know, is and Jim knows this more than anything, it's not a sprint, it's a long marathon, and the squads have got to be strong to get you through. With, if Jim's saying at the moment Grays are going through some injuries, you've got to have that strength and depth, and I'm not sure Whittam have got that, unfortunately, and some of the other sides you've mentioned, but it is very competitive. There are no giveaway points anymore at that level. Whereas before, a few years ago, there used to think, we beat them, but there isn't at that league now.
Absolutely. So we've got Liam's joined us. I mean, Liam, and tell us a little bit about your new venture.
Okay, yeah. So this is Callum, my brother, as well.
Okay. Hi, Callum.
We've set up the non-league promoters together. And basically what we're trying to do is promote non-league as best we can in any way possible. We've started off basically by kind of a little few tweets and stuff like that here and there to start off around sort of Christmas time, I suppose, just because we both really enjoy non-league and love the game, and obviously I'm involved with Coggeshall. And it's just kind of gone from there, really. And we sort of started, trying to help people find clubs because we knew there was quite a lot of like non-league hashtag free agent tweets going about and things like that. And we sort of wanted to give everyone a bit of a platform, really, and we created a website with a player platform and a staff platform, and it's gone a bit mad, really, and kind of find ourselves doing podcasts and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, that's kind of how we started.
Jim, I'm going to ask you the first question. Does that hashtag free agent wind you up as a manager?
No, honestly, no. They've got the boys. I think it's the first I knew about it. What a great idea! What a fantastic idea to give them that platform actually to find the club. Keith, you know yourself as a manager. What's the worst thing about being a non-league manager is releasing somebody for whatever reason, poor performance or whatever, or budget constraints and everything. So anything that can help these guys get another club is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And you boys have served non-league well, because that's something that will definitely progress. I'm sure you can add to that as well. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's like you say, it happens all over the place. You only got to look at like academy lads and stuff like that to know that when they drop out of a level, it's so hard to you've either got to know someone or have someone vouch for you. So yeah, just trying to create that platform for lads at all levels. Someone drops out step 4, there's contacts there to go and contact another step 4 side or go and contact even if they do have to drop down a level, you've got the contacts there. It's all there for everyone to see.
So tell us the gritty bit about it. If you've got a non-league player watching now who's just left and just popped up his free agent, what's he got to do to get in touch with you?
So basically, just find us on our Twitter page, or you can just go straight on our website. It comes up. It's really easy. It's a simple sign up. It just creates like a profile for themselves. So like a Facebook or a MySpace, but purely for non-league. So you can add your highlights of yourself, talk about your game, talk about what level you've played at, because that's a huge part of it, isn't it? It's having that platform to tell people what you've done in the game, and it's hard for lads to find. If you haven't got a contact, it's a real struggle, isn't it? So yeah, it's just go on the website, come on our Twitter. You can directly message us, and we'll help you try and find a club.
So say you're a manager like myself. Well, not at the moment, but you're obviously looking for players. What would you obviously is it like the Facebook page? Would it be like a directory of where they've been, who they are, or do you have to sign up for that as well as managers to have a look at it?
No, so we've also got a staff platform for managers, coaches, physios, and people like that are involved in the game that haven't got a club. So you can sign up as well if you need to promote yourself. But yeah, it's kind of anyone can go on the page, visit the page, view the platform, and then they can directly message players if they want to, leave their details and their contact details and the club that they're from, and then it's down to the player to decide whether they get back to that person or not. So yeah, it's been crazy, really. So where it sort of the idea kind of transpired from was I was managing Cornard United down in the Furlough None a few seasons back, and I've been coaching and managing for coming up to 10 years now. So I've got quite a few player contacts sort of thing around the area. But I got this job out in Cornard, which is a bit out in the sticks, and I just couldn't attract players out there. We didn't have a budget. We couldn't get people out there, but I knew that there was so many players around that were looking for opportunities. But there was just nowhere to go to find them, So that was kind of part of the thought process, really. And it's proven quite successful as well for the managers that need players at the last minute. So, for example, like recently we had 2 days before the opening game of the season, Little Oakley, a team that have just done really well in the FA Cup, played Chelmsford at the weekend. Their manager rang us up and said, we've had an injury to our goalkeeper, which as you guys know, goalkeepers can be a nightmare position. You kind of have your one keeper that's tried and trusted, and you generally have maybe a little bit more of an inexperienced lad backing him up. Well, he lost his keeper to an injury, and within sort of the 2 days, we had a player ready for him that had experience at the level that was ready to play and started, I think, the first 5 or 6 games for him. So yeah, it seems to be filling a bit of a gap for people, and obviously it's keeping people in non-league football. It's so easy to drift away from playing football and being involved in non-league these days. So it's keeping people involved as well, which is great.
No, as Jim said, it is a really good idea. I think it's, it'll make our jobs a little bit easier, and especially if what you've just said there, that happens really regularly, where your centre half or your keeper or something pulls out, and you're desperately. I'll be ringing people like Jim. Your book's open, and if you have got that sort of platform there, I think it's a really, really good idea.
Well, I thought you was going to sign up then for a minute.
I can't play anymore. I've got bad knees.
I thought he was going to do on their staff side. I thought, hang on a minute, he's going to get in there.
Dave, if anyone don't know who I am, then I've got a bit of an issue.
No, it's worked really well with people. Like, for example, say for yourself, if you was to move location, an area, and people didn't know your name up north, for example, it's another good way to sort of cross-reference the step that you've been working at, so people in different locations can get an idea of you. There are so many lads that go to uni and have no idea of the level at university, and just kind of fall out of playing. So I think it's another good way of keeping lads involved while they're at uni, or travelling or whatever, and then when they come back to the area, they've still been playing, they're still fit, they're still played at the level,
And lads in other countries as well.
Yeah,
lads in other countries have come and contacted us and saying they're moving over for whatever reason, and they'd like to get involved with a club. So,
how many sort of players do you have on the platform at the moment, gents?
So at the minute we're on, I think we've just over 300 have signed up, and we've got, I think, about 30 staff, or 30 or so staff, like it's in physios, assistants and managers and all that sort of thing, which has been a bit slower, but there's obviously a lot less than there are players. But I mean, I said at the beginning of when we first started it, if we could do 100, we get 100 people on by the end of the year, I'd have been really happy. And in 6 months, we've managed to hit about 300 players. So yeah, we're really happy.
That must be one of the ones you must get asked for the most, though, physios, wasn't it? Because I mean, every time I go onto social media, it's physio needed for this, physio needed here, physio needed there, and it's almost all the time. It's a physio needed for one game or another.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, we do get a lot of physios, and believe it or not, recently it's been a lot of referees as well. A lot of people asking for refs.
Yeah.
Seem to have a big problem with getting referees at this moment in time.
That'd be the next step, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we had a chat.
There is a platform. You're right there, gents, because there is a platform in Kent, a Facebook platform for referees, Kent referees. And I was talking to one yesterday because for my kids team, and they were saying that within the next month they're at the level, and it's Kent Youth, which is really high level, that they won't hardly have any referees, because I think they pay them like 30 quid, which when you look back, Jim, and we say there you give referees a bit of an hard time, but he was trying to explain like 30 quid gets a load of abuse from parents, and I do think it's really stupid money, and it is something that, I think if you want referees to get involved, I think they do need to start putting their money up a little bit.
I think that's the problem, wasn't it? I mean, I know when I used to ref and used to travel from Waltham Abbey into Harlow, and you turn up to a game freezing cold, and it's like £10 for a mini soccer game, or you get like 15 quid for an 11-a-side game. And you think, why am I doing this? Why am I travelling? I'm probably spending more money in petrol backwards and forwards than what I'm doing actually getting. And as you say, then to sit there and get abuse, just constant abuse. And sorry to say this, but 90% of that abuse was from the mums, not from the dads. And it used to just take the abuse and then just go back home again. But does that worry any of you guys though? You know, for the future, you know, with the amount of sort of referees that you're seeing, you know, that sort of getting the grief, and even to the extent, and I know Keith hates me mentioning this subject, but even when you see now with like on Sky Sports with the WSL and stuff like that, and you see them getting absolutely pillars, some of the referees on, you know, even at that level, you know, from the people sitting in the studios, it's a thankless task, isn't it? And surely eventually we are going to get to a stage where you're going to run out of referees.
It's really weird because at the start of this season, the Respect campaign is still being run by the Ryman League, Boston League, whatever they're going to call it now. And so I actually pulled all our management team together and said, guys, this year we are actually going to be a completely different unit on the sidelines, and we're going to give the respect that the referees do deserve. And honestly, the first 3 games, I think we was marked as exceptional from the bench, which, you know, in me is an absolute miracle. But my point there, what I'm trying to say there is that, you know, I've just packed in the game. I genuinely wish that I hadn't given some referees as tough a time as I have in the past, because like you say, they're just doing their job. And if without referees, we haven't got a game, have we?
No, it's one of them things, isn't it? You're so passionate about the game. Everyone is so passionate about the game. In the heat of the moment, things can be said. I mean, it's even players to players. You could kick the, you know, lumps out of each other all game, but at the end of the game, you'll shake each other's hand. But for refs, they're not there. They're not kicking you, are they? They're there. They're without them in the game, it doesn't happen. So yeah, there needs to be, like you say. I mean, they're not getting paid a lot, but a lot of refs, you'll find they do it because they love it as well. You know, they love it as much as we do. Sitting from the sidelines or, you know, being involved. So you're absolutely right. I think something needs to be done about it because, it's getting to that point where there will just be no one left in the end. Speaking to a lot of referees over the last few sort of weeks, so they do have their own competitive edge to being a referee as well. So within the referees, it's all about getting promoted up tiers and things like that. So I know they obviously do, you know, push themselves to be better all the time, which is great, you know. And I think the more that the league can kind of help with making it competitive for referees to be good at their job and support them with learning and development, I mean, that's only going to encourage more referees to come in and get involved with the game, I think.
So again, with your platform, gents, if there's any managers and that out there at the moment looking for players, have you got any special names on your list that you want to punt out, or you giving them all to Coggleshaw?
Oh, we haven't got anyone over Coggleshaw either.
No,
we haven't,
no.
to be honest.
No one's gone over to Coggleshaw.
At this moment in time, most of the pairing up that we've been doing is the leagues below, to be honest. So we've done a little bit higher, but most of the pairing up of players we've done have been sort of the kind of the league below Coggleshaw, really, and that sort of level, senior level. Yeah, there tends to be a lot of lads sort of around the London area that struggle to find teams and are willing to sort of travel that little bit further to get themselves out and playing. But I suppose really we'd say, like, to the boys, that some of the boys that we've got out already, you know, it's great to see, and they're doing so well, progressing their game. And we've got a lad down at Clacton that's playing and scoring lots of goals, and we've had a goalkeeper that's gone down to Clacton and really been doing well. So yeah, no, it's been great to see, really.
Yeah, it's really rewarding when we can get players over to clubs like that. It's you know, we do it because we love it. We're not doing it for, you know, we're not making money out of it or anything like that. We're doing it because we really enjoy it. And especially for me, obviously Liam's involved with the team, but I'm not involved in coaching or anything like that. And I just follow. Crikey, I've been to a lot of clubs now, following you about. But it's great for me to see, you know, and get more involved in non-league, because, like I say, I go every week to support Liam's teams and be more involved myself, you know.
So you haven't got Ollie Murs on your books then yet?
He's got him down looking for an album.
Sorry. I think Ollie would like to be. He loves kicking the ball around still, gets
Mm.
involved in pre-season training and stuff like that. And he's a good player as well, to be fair to him. So he probably doesn't need to come on our books, really. He can do it himself.
Got a dodgy hammy though, isn't he?
Yeah, he done his knee recently and
Yeah.
performing. So yeah, bless him.
What is your site name? The Twitter or the actual web? What is it?
On Twitter, we're called Non-League Guys, and on our website is the nonleaguepromoters.co.uk. So
Something you would have used, Jim?
Would I use it? I would have done. Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah, I'd. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a fantastic idea. I'm going to follow you in a minute, and I don't suppose you'll get many more followers when I do it, but I'm just saying I will follow it. Yeah, I think it's honestly, I think it's a really good idea. Just a very quick. Do you mind if I ask? As Graham Smith, how is he? Is he on the road to recovery at Golders?
Yeah, he's on the road to recovery. Yeah, I see him in the gym most weeks. And yeah, he's getting better sort of day by day, which is fantastic news.
That's good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He was at the club after the game on Saturday as well. Turned up a little bit later, and he's still got himself. You know, he's still Graham and still lively and holds court. And yeah, it's yeah.
And you nicked a point on Saturday, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was disappointed because, like, you retired a couple of games before we was due to play. I'd listened to you guys, you know, you on the radio and stuff like that over the years, and I would have been great to meet you in person. But I'll
come over and definitely come over and watch. I'm only in Billericay now, so I'm not too far from you boys. I'll come over and watch you game.
Yeah, please do. Let us know when you're down, and
brilliant.
Have a drink after and have a chat.
100%.
Yeah, the Grays boys put up a good show. The front two are a handful, and they caused us a problem.
It's a fantastic game. It's a really, really good, real end-to-end game. Really, really good to watch.
Yeah, it's been a tricky season for us so far because obviously what's happened with Graham. The club is pretty much up in the air at this moment in time. Well, not so much now. We're kind of stabilising it a bit, but when they got the news, it was a bit. Graham does everything from literally filling out, signing on forms to sorting out the ground to, you name it. And Polly, John Pollard, who's taken over, was his assistant. But just rang me up after heard that I'd left Sudbury and gave us a call and said, "Look, can you come and help us out? Because I'm local. I'm from Cookershaw." He said, "Can you just come in and do what you can and help us out in any way possible?" And I've been there ever since. And
great opportunity, mate. It's a good club. I love going over there. Love it.
I've never been, Jim. I've never been over there. It's one of the only grounds I think I've said to that I've never been to.
Yeah, I love it over there. It's good.
I suppose before we finish, one thing that we should mention, I suppose, and it's sort of the news sort of broke yesterday, and I know at least one of us sitting on here is a Spurs fan, and I mean, thoughts on Jimmy passing away yesterday?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a football fan, but also a Chelsea fan, but so yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? He's a legend of our game, and he's gone. So yeah, condolences to all his family. I played football with his boy, so it's a shame.
Yeah, no, obviously from Whittam Dave as well, connection with Whittam Town. So yeah, just listen, he was a major footballer, wasn't he? His record speaks for itself. People keep saying about stats, but we was talking about this yesterday at Phoenix when we was having our normal Sunday drink, and and they flashed up Ronaldo's stats, and when you pop these next to him, it was just an unbelievable player, and it's obviously it's a big loss for everybody, I think, in the football world.
And of course, he was playing on pitches like Tonbridge Angels and not pitches like Met Police. So what could he have done if?
I'll tell you what, Dave, you shouldn't have said that. I'm sure
Tonbridge's pitch is absolute fine now, Dave.
Yeah,
it is lovely.
I'm just going through what your conversation was earlier on, but people say, what would he have done? What would he have done if if he'd been playing on the pitches that these guys are playing on these days? But for me, whenever anybody mentions Jimmy Greaves, I forget that he was a footballer. And I don't know about anybody else of sort of my age, but you forget that he was a footballer. It was Saint Greavesy. He was just one of those things every single Saturday. You just used to to sit there and watch that before the wrestling started on the old World of Sport, and it was just one of those things that you used to sit there and watch for. And
Liam and Callum was saying, never seen it, never heard of it, never heard of Sailing Breeze.
He's one of the big characters of football, Dave. He had a great personality off the pitch on it, and when you sort of, as you go, read one of his, his autobiography, sort of life story. Wow.
I mean, guys, you need to get onto YouTube and have a look for Santa Greavesy. But there's a very famous scene in there where they actually go to Trump Towers and get Donald Trump to actually do the Rumbelows Cup draw in his boardroom in Trump Towers, and it's absolutely superb. Just the way they managed to get this guy to do these. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing, but it's just really, really funny. Fantastic stuff. But listen, these 2 hours have absolutely flown by again. It's just been a fantastic night. A massive thank you to Liam and Callum, and we wish you all the very, very best.
Yeah.
With your endeavours, and hopefully it goes really, really well for you. And of course, a massive thank you to the absolute living legend in Mr. Jim Cooper, and hope everything goes well in retirement, sir. And don't be a stranger. And hope you enjoy your nice skiing trip that's coming up soon. And we'll all be a bit envious of you. And of course,
can I just thank you for inviting me on, and also the support you've given me over the years as well. But I'd like to make an apology now to the Stowmarket publicans, because when I booked away that weekend with all the Graves fans in March, I'm going to be drinking a lot of drink. So my apologies are going to go out there now, all right?
And of course, a massive thank you to Keith as usual, and we'll be back next week when we should have, because he desperately wants to come on and crow about it. So we'll sit to him. We'll let you come on and have a talk about it. But somebody that came on the show a few months back, is just signed for a new club. Alan Fenn's going to come back on next week with a few others and talk about his recent appointment as manager of DTFC. So he'll come on next week, and a few other guests as well next week. But from me and Keith, from Jim and the boys, thank you for watching tonight, and see you all again next week. Good night.